Click, click, click went the pincer of the spider all around the hollow. Aragog paused. Hagrid had never sent man into our hollow before, he said slowly. Hagrid's in trouble, said Harry, breathing very fast. That's why we've come. In trouble, said the ash spider, and Harry thought he heard Cancer Bradness, the clicking pincers. But why has he sent you? Harry thought of getting to his feet, but decided against it. He didn't think his leg would support him, so he spoke from the ground as calmly as he could. They think, up at the school, that Hagrid been sacking something students they've taken to Azkaban. Aragog clicked his pincers furiously, and all around the hollow the sound was echoed by the crowd of spiders. It was like Uplas, except Uplas didn't usually make Harry feel sick with fear. But that was years ago, said Aragog furtively. Years and years ago, I remember it well. That's why they made him leave the school. They believed I was the monster that dwells in that they call the Chamber of Secrets. They thought Hagrid had opened the chamber and set me free. And you didn't come from the Chamber of Secrets. I, said Harry, clicking angrily. I was not born in the castle. I come from a distant land. A traveler gave me to Hagrid when I was an ad. Hagrid was only a boy, but he cared for me, hidden in a cupboard in a castle, feeding me one scraps for the table. Hagrid is my good friend and a good man. When I was discovered and blamed for the death of a girl, he protected me. I have lived here in the forest ever since when Hagrid still visited me. He even found me a wife, Mozart. And you see how our family has grown all through Hagrid's goodness. Harry summoned that remind of his courage. So you never attack anyone. Never, croaked the old spider. I would have been a instinct, but out of respect for Hagrid, I never harmed a human. The body of the girl who was killed was discovered in the bathroom. I never saw any part of castle but the cupboard in which I grew up. You're kind like the dog and the quiet. But then, do you know what did kill that girl? Said Harry. Because whatever it is, back and attacking people again. His words were drawn by a loud outbreak of clicking and the rustling of many long legs shifting angrily. Large black shapes shifted around him. The thing that lives in the castle, said Aragog, is an ancient creature we spider fear above all others. I remember how I pleaded with Hagrid to let me go when I sensed the beast moving about the school. What is it? Said Harry urgently. More loud clicking, more rustling. The spiders seemed to closing in it. We do not speak of it, said Aragog fiercely. We do not name it. I never even told Harry the name of the dread creature, though he asked me many times. Harry didn't want to press the subject, not with the spider pressing closer on all sides. Aragog seemed to be tired of talking. He had backed slowly in his dumb map, but his followed spider continued to inch slowly toward Harry and Ron. We'll just go then, Harry called imperatively at Aragog, hearing leaves rustling behind him. Go, said Aragog slowly. I didn't know, but My son and daughters did not harm Hagrid on my command, but I cannot deny the fresh meat when it wanders so willingly into our midst. Goodbye, friend of Hagrid. Harry spun across. Feet away, towering above him, was a solid wall of spiders clicking, their many eyes gleaming in their ugly back hands. Even as he reached for his wand, Harry knew it was no good. There were so many of them, but as he tried to stand, ready to die frightening, a loud, long note sounded, and a blaze of light flamed from the hollow. Mr. Weasley's car was thundering down the slope, headlights glaring, its horns screeching, knocking spiders aside. Several were thrown onto their backs, their endless legs waving in the air. The car screeched a halt in front of Harry and Ron. The door flew open. "Get back!" Harry yelled, diving into the front seat. Ron seized the Bernhard around the middle and threw him, yelping, into the back of the car. The door slammed shut. Ron didn't touch the accelerator, but the car didn't need him. The engine roared and they were off, hitting more spiders. They sped up the slope out of this hollow, and they were soon crashing through the forest branches, whipping the windows of the car its way cleverly through the widest gap, following a path obviously new. Harry looked sideways at Ron. His mouth was still open in silent scream, but his eyes weren't popping anymore. "Are you okay?" Ron stared straight ahead, unable to speak. They smashed their way through the underground, Fang howling loudly in the back seat, and Harry saw the leadership of as they squeezed past a large oak. After 10 noisy rock minutes, the trees thinned, and Harry could again see patches of sky. The car stopped so suddenly that they were nearly thrown into the wilderness. They were reached the edge of the forest. Fang flung himself at the window in his anxiety to get out, and when Harry opened the door, he shot off through the trees to Hagrid's house. Tails behind his legs, Harry got out too, and after a minute or so, Ron seemed to regain his feeling with limbs and followed, still snake-necked and staring. Harry gave the car a grateful pat, and it reversed back into the forest and disappeared from view. Harry went back into Harry's cabin to get the invisibility cloak. Fang was trembling under a blanket in his basket. When Harry got outside again, he found Ron being violently sick in the pumpkin patches. "Follow the spider," said Ron weakly, whipping his mouth on his sleeve. "I'll never forget Harry. We're lucky to be alive." "I bet he thought Erica wouldn't hurt friend of his," said Harry. "That's is exactly Harry's problem," said Ron, thumbing the wall of the cavern. "He always thinks monsters aren't bad and they're made out, and look where I's got him. He's selling Azkaban." He was shivering uncomfortably now. "What was the point sending us in there? What have we found out? I'd like to know." "That Hagrid never opened the Chamber of Secrets," said Harry, throwing the cloak over Ron and prodding him in the arm to make him work. "He was innocent." Ron gave a loud snort. Evidently, hatching agog in cupboard wasn't his idea of being innocent. As the castle loomed nearer, Harry twitched the cloak to make sure their feet were hidden, then pushed the creaking front door ajar. They walked carefully back across the entrance hall and up the marble staircase, holding their breath as they passed corridors where watchful sentries were walking. At last they reached the safety of Gryffindor common room, where the fire had burned itself now into glossy ash. They took off the cloak and climbed the winding stairs to their dormitory. Ron fell onto his back without bothering to get undressed. Harry, now, however, didn't feel very sleepy. He sat on the edge of his four-poster, thinking hard about everything Aragog said. The creature that was lurking somewhere in the castle, he thought, sounded like a sort of monster Voldemort. Even other monsters didn't want to name it, but he and Ron were no closer finding out what it was, or how it petrified its victims. Even Hagrid had never known what was in the Chamber of Secrets. Harry swung his legs out onto his bed and leaned back against his pillows, watching the moon glinting at him through the tower window. He couldn't see what else they could do. They had hit dead ends everywhere. Riddle had caught the wrong person. The hair of Slytherin had got off, and no one could tell whether it was the same person or different one who had opened the chamber this time. There was probably nobody else to ask. Harry lay down, still thinking about what Aragog had said. He was become drowsy when what seemed like their very first hope occurred him, and he suddenly sat bolt upright. "Ron!" he hissed through the dark. "Ron!" Ron walked like with a yelp like fangs, darted wildly around and saw Harry. "Ron, the girl died. Aragog says she was found in the bathroom," said Harry, ignoring Neville's shuffling snores from the corner. "What if she never left the bathroom? What if she's still there?" Ron rubbed his eyes, frowning through the moonlight, and then he understood. "You don't think? Not morning, Muggles."